Well, this has been awesome, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed digging into this with you. I know I'm doing kind of indirectly. You're not with me on these particular video conversations, but all the different mastermind and times that we're having and meetings we're having. I know I've met with you already. If you're watching this, so today or right now, what I wanted to talk about was it's mentioned in our week 3, the prospecting and partner strategies, and there might be a couple videos with this. I already had one in one of the earlier trainings on the EOV where I have the third-party referral script. But I want to talk about, what does it look like having some of these strategic partnerships? And I will say that Josh said something today in a meeting we're at is like, look, if you're thinking this is just, you're just going to kind of sit around and then, things are just going to start happening for you. That's just not the case. And, nothing great really happens like that. And unless you just happen to win the lotto, but I don't think that's that great. It's just luck. But when it comes to these partnerships and these bird dogs, as we call them, it's through relationship. I worked on this guy for about 5 years, just very periodically, right? And he finally agreed to start using me as the insurance agent he was referring business to, and now he sets appointments for me, and it's fantastic. But I had to prove it to this guy. If you're working with a CPA or with the PNC guy or gal, they don't just all of a sudden go, oh my God, I want to refer. They gotta know, and trust you, and that comes through knowing them, dialoguing, having conversations, showing them what you do, even literally doing the presentation for them. So what I started to do was really pay attention to the professionals that I was speaking with. So if I came across somebody, anybody can be a darn bird dog. My chiropractor is a bird dog for me. So anybody can refer business. So I always want to reference that with people. And these conversations are easy to remember. The easiest one to remember is the damn teeter-totter. So I bring that up, So if I'm done with somebody and I really like them and we've worked well together and we've done good work, who do they typically network with? Who are they typically having dinner with? Who are they traveling with, going to visit? Who do they, I look at my buddies that we travel every year together, and we're all really quite similar. We're all in, they'd be great referrals, right? For sure. So this is just how people are by nature. So I want to make sure that even if it's a chiropractor, and once we're done, it's like, hey, Dr. Johnny, this has been really great and I really appreciate you. And I'm really glad that, I met you through so-and-so. And, if you remember, they wanted you to talk to me because if you recall, they just had that little teeter-totter conversation with you. They said, dude, you're lopsided, man. You're the fat kid on the teeter-totter. And the IRS gets to do what they want to do with you. So you got to talk to my guy. And that concept made sense to you enough to where we set some time. So as you're about, as you are out and about with your friends, and if you end up dialoguing about any of this stuff, man, I'd be honored to be a resource, for your friends as well. And so that's worked. But now, so, be very diligent in those conversations. And then, but they've got to know and trust you. And you can't always add and by the way, what you saw is exactly what I do with everybody. I don't tweak it. If you refer a 24-year-old to me that's beginning his hustle, he doesn't get a different conversation from me, right? If it's a 55-year-old, he doesn't get a different conversation from me. So if they believe what I believe and we're lined up with that, then what you saw is exactly what I do. So I make sure to reference that. But now if it's more of an opportunity for, say, like a PNC guy. So my PNC guy he has a huge brokerage, independent. He's fantastic. And I really, before I presented to him, I really wanted to have it buttoned up. So this was early. So, I could reach out to him and go, hey man, I'm working on some new things, pal. He's like, all right, what are you talking about? And I knew they didn't offer life insurance, right? They had a financial guy in their office, but he was more looking at investments, not necessarily other, additional life policies. So I'm like, dude, it's time, man. I want to show you what we're doing. So I went in and he's sitting at his desk and I go through the napkin conversation with him and he sits back and he goes, Kelly, that's the best conversation I've ever seen on life insurance. And I was like, awesome. So here's what I want to do, Jeff. Let's partner. You're licensed, buddy. You know, so let's work together with your client, with your client base. You know, let's figure something out. And so we did. It took some time, right? But it you know, we started to get some referrals, and now he's a great bird dog for me because people come in. He knows all of them. If I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm looking for the 45 to 54-year-olds, whatever. He's like, he can just pull that up in his little HawkSoft database. You know, he's mentioned, dude, we ought to do big presentations. Maybe we can do a lunch or something. And we've actually never done a big event before. We could really easily. But so when he's meeting and talking to people, he's like, hey, you got to talk to my life guy. And here's why. And he gives a quick little analogy that comes from the napkin conversation. And they like, know, and trust him. He's their PNC guy, and they know he's legit. And I have a very warm referral coming to me. So you just constantly be looking for those. You're going to be dialoguing in a completely different way. You're going to, as I say, you're going to have a much bigger bat. You're going to be at that plate. You're going to be getting bigger hits. There's going to be more opportunities. And so constantly be looking for them as a bird dog. They might be licensed. You know, literally the most powerful, I believe one of the most powerful positions in our industry is someone who can set appointments. I mean, that's just for everybody. Imagine you're the one who can set appointments for the sales guys, right? And gals, right? They'll pay you, and they'll pay you handsomely for that. So look at what all these agents try to do. They want to buy leads and leads and leads and blah, blah, blah. So if you're the one that can make appointments, dude, you're very valuable. So if there's anybody out there that you meet that can remember some of these simple analogies, that's networked, even if they're not licensed, they can set appointments for you. There's things you can do for them, and that, I mean, it's the best if they do get a license. There's so many opportunities for them to also kill it, and all they got to do is introduce you to somebody. And what I've done with some guys that we're working on with some of them right now who have agents below them who are rookies, we train them on their explanation of value. We train them to dialogue this way. So they're learning how to control the frame, be the person of authority, and how to make it about the people they're talking to and set appointments. And then they will eventually learn the appointment conversation, and they'll become an efficient agent in their own right. But initially, they can learn an EOV like that in a week. They can learn something and have it dialed in and be hustling out there, setting quality appointments. And so that's what we do with greenies, right? That's all they got to learn how to do is answer that question, what do you do, and go out and hustle. And then when they're making their list of 60, when they're actually talking to their parents' friends, they have a totally different dialogue. You know, I had a buddy, when I was writing insurance for the first time with Northwestern Mutual, Sling and Term, we're 23 years old, playing pool on a Friday. And I'd been peppering him like crazy. He was a young engineer with Lockheed Martin. He was making really good money for 23-year-olds with an engineering degree. And he finally put his pool stick down out of frustration. And he goes, damn it, Kelly. He's like, what? Am I going to make you my beneficiary? You know, I'm like, and I literally go, no. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, what am I doing? It was so frustrating, right? But look at the conversation I could have had with him if I knew this. If it was like, well, look, dude, you know, you're a young guy making $50,000 a year back in, 1994, right? He was killing it when we were 23 years old. That was crazy, right? If I had this conversation and there was a legitimate reason on why he needed to establish a policy for himself, I might have been able to get an $8,000 to $10,000 policy out of him when we were 23, 24 years old. That'd have been great. But no, he didn't need term insurance to have me as his beneficiary. So, if teaching these agents below, if you happen to have any of them, literally how to have the COV and set appointments for you, that'll be the best bird dog you can get because they're hungry and they're out hustling and they're going to slowly learn to become an agent themselves. But when it comes to outside strategic partnerships, you got to be patient. You're going to be dialoguing in a different way. You're going to see the results of that. And then once you're out there in that arena, I guarantee you every PNC guy struggles with selling life insurance. I guarantee you every life insurance guy within the PNC place, whatever, isn't doing it very well, right? They're just not. So if you look across the board, the CPA guy, he might have a life connection, but I guarantee you his life guy has a difficult time at the very front talking about it and explaining it I mean, they all struggle with this. So if you're the one that can break through and speak about it, not only about what you do and then present it in a way with the napkin conversation effectively, those opportunities develop. They do. But it all comes down to your effort and your ability to talk to these people and improve how you're speaking with them. But these strategic partnerships will come about. They just do. And you got to also just keep them in your head and be willing to ask about them, be willing to promote them, be willing to talk to them about them. It will benefit you. So my 2 cents on that aspect. All right. I don't think I've got another video on this one, but we very well may. But anyway, keep plugging.